Yeah, so we ended up at Barbarellas on Saturday night, and it was me.
This past Saturday?
This past Saturday night, yeah,
okay.
day after Halloween. It was me, Paula, Chris, and Blaine, and they were both kind of tired from, I guess, like the previous night. So we're kind of chilling. We ended up at Barbarellas. We're like drinking a little bit, but it's like a dance floor. So I'm there with Paula, and I'm trying to do like my customary wiggle when I'm on the dance floor. Like I don't have like real dance moves, but I can do this. And Chris and Blaine are both pretty like low key, just drinking. And then I look over and I see these two girls dancing with one another, and they both have their bodies kind of open to Blaine and Chris. And I'm like, why don't you guys go talk to them? They're just sitting there.
I remember this.
I
wonder why.
And they're like, I don't know. So then I say something to Paula, and then when I look back, Chris is gone. And then I look over to the girls, and Chris is like in between them, like dancing with his fingers up, with his like really helpless, like happy-go-lucky face.
I know
and,
that
like,
Chris dance. And you did that. I was like, oh yeah, I know. I know what you're talking
fingers
about.
up in the air, and it's like whenever Chris is there, he has this face that's so harmless that girls love. And then Blaine's just kind of standing there, doesn't really know what to do. And then eventually the other girl goes up and starts dancing on Blaine, and so he's just like sitting there with his drink, having to like get in the mindset of being drunk. But how'd that work out for you?
I don't remember.
It's so, like Chris is so like non-threatening. Like I think I've said this a few times, but he's so non-threatening sexually that women are like, yeah, of course, because he's like a brother to them. You know,
I don't think that's what makes.
No. They see them as a brother, and you don't fuck your brother. Usually you don't, but like they see him as a brother, and they're like, yeah, I can hang out with him, and there's no possibility that I'll sleep with him, like unless I get really drunk, right?
Well, I don't think of it that way.
Well, I guess that's just how I think of it. But.
It's just a matter of perception. Tomato.
Yeah.
People look at you like I have nothing to fear from him.
That's what I'm saying.
Little do they know.
That's good for you. All right, here, let me read this thing.
I was talking about the other day when we were talking about whether mithril or adamantium is harder, and whether a lightsaber could cut through.
Which it cannot.
So
Adamantium stronger.
that was the
and
determination.
A lightsaber could melt it eventually. It wouldn't be like a clean cut. It would be like, imagine the blast doors in episode 1, where they stick the lightsabers in and wait for it to melt.
Once adamantium has like dried, you cannot heat it up again.
Yeah, you can.
Its melting point
No,
is
that's not
infinite.
true. That is not true. In some of the X-Men movies,
Chris, we have never said anything on the podcast that turned out to be not true.
I said that he was non-threatening sexually. I think all of you guys now that I see it.
But no, I think...
You're here with us.
Yeah.
You're fucking lumped in.
But in at least one of the movies, his Wolverine gets didn't he get his claws cut off?
No, when they're still bone, they get like cut off by Sabretooth. That's in X-Men Origins Wolverine. That's before he has the adamantium.
What you need to do is don't worry with a lightsaber.
Oh, and also, you're thinking of when Mystique was copying him in the original X-Men.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay, Okay.
Just use the Force and rip the adamantium from his bones.
It's not
That's way better.
a force thing. It's just like a physics.
Yeah, right. Physics in a superhero universe. It's physics.
It's not just super. It's also
all that shit.
It's also a Star Wars universe because we have a lightsaber there.
Yeah. Well, it's just like it's combining different fantasy worlds, and how do they interact? What's the physics of
Well,
it?
they're superhero physics classes that they teach at different universities.
No, they do not.
That's
Yeah,
total
they don't
bullshit.
tell Chris they absolutely do. And it's
I gotta go.
there's so much fun.
I'm going back to school, guys.
There's so much fun you can have with that, but then you get to Superman and you're like, this makes no fucking sense. Like
that's when it doesn't make sense?
No, he can fly and then immediately just change direction and then change direction again. It defies all logic.
That's what defies logic?
Yeah.
I mean, if you had enough
It makes no
force,
sense.
Like if you had enough, pushing force
But
or
then
whatever.
there's nothing that he's slowing himself down. Like it's not like all of a sudden he gets really like and like wind resistance slows him down. Like it makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense that he's flying. That's the first part.
They can go
No,
to
but
space and
people
breathe.
can fly.
Here's the deal. I think they're...
Some people fly.
Who flies?
Apparently Brandon.
Superman.
No, that's the unbelievable part. So you.
Oh no, Storm flies, but she
These
flies
aren't people.
with like
These are-
she flies with
These
the
aren't
wind.
people.
She
She
uses
puts wind
wind.
up and then she like flows
These
with the
are
wind.
comic book characters.
Right, but
There's
that's the fun
already
of
the
it.
suspension of disbelief
Yes,
at the
but
beginning.
I know,
but
but
I
like-
do believe that you need to have your suspension of disbelief has to exist within a world, and that you have to obey those laws. And if you disobey
Whatever laws they are.
well, it's like
You can set
up
whatever
this
laws
world,
you want, but just
once
obey
you
by
set it
those
up,
laws.
you have to
I'm making a lot of noise.
Chris and I had this class called, should I say the name of it? I guess it doesn't matter, right? It's called, it was a weird class.
Say it.
It was called The Uncanny, right? And it was like dealing with things that are,
Uncanny.
okay, so for instance, when you see a robot, like a humanoid robot that looks really real, and you kind of go, ugh, that's the uncanny.
Like the
I guess
Uncanny
that's
Valley.
what she said,
Like
or whatever.
or like virtual reality that looks too
Yeah.
close to life, but not close enough to
Right.
where it's like.
That's the
Yeah.
Uncanny Valley,
Right.
essentially, or whatever. So Chris and I took this class that we essentially, how would you describe it? We would.
Well, there weren't projects. It was just like we had four assignments, and it's just come up with something that's uncanny. That was the class. Come up with 4 projects that are uncanny.
It was like free form, like something that you take in the 70s, essentially. Like anything goes. One of
As
those
long
classes.
as it's uncanny.
Yeah. Are you getting to?
Oh,
What
I
are
don't know.
you
You want to talk
getting
about that guy who? So
okay, yeah.
So we.
I'm trying.
So
there's multiple
well, just
things
as an
here.
example, do you ever see that video of me dancing with myself, Brandon?
Rhubarb.
Yeah, that was a project I did for that class.
Like one of the best projects, like if you can imagine that.
Yeah. So, but it's essentially so the final project is you're supposed to spend like a third of the semester on this final project. It's supposed to be really good. Well, I don't know how you interpret it, but it's supposed to be impressive. But
Oh, okay. So anyway,
I fell asleep.
Chris and I had spent all of our time making this 3D movie that was crazy. It was like a gore film or whatever, and we'd spent all this time. I spilled on myself. Doing this movie, and we'd shown it. Whatever. We were really tired. Chris falls asleep, and this guy comes out with. First of all, he'd missed his first class to present his project, so he's already late on it. He comes out with this tub full of Pepsi, like I guess Pepsi or Coke or something, just this huge sloshing tub. And he comes out with Smarties or what, right?
Pop Rocks.
Pop Rocks, that's what it was. So he comes out with Pop Rocks, and his girlfriend's assisting him, and he's in front of maybe 60 or 70 of us, and he gets this tub and he goes, when I drop these Pop Rocks in this tub, it's going to foam over and it will go everywhere, and you will see like, well, I don't even know how you describe it, magic or physics in action or something like that. So anyway, he throws all of these Pop Rocks that they had unwrapped into this tub, and it does nothing, like absolutely nothing. And there's just silence, right? And so one of the old guys that was auditing the class, he's like 60 or 70, he goes, God damn it! You wasted our fucking time! And Chris...
I remember that guy.
Yeah, you remember that guy, the old guy? So Chris like starts waking up like that, and he sees this guy yelling next to him. And I'm like, Chris, look. And this guy's like, you are a disgrace to the community and this class, whatever the class was, and we hate you and blah, blah, blah. And he just stopped, right? And Chris and I are just looking.
I was
we're
like, what the fuck?
yeah, what the fuck is going on? And I couldn't even explain it to him. And so then they just went down the line, the teacher's aide, the other teacher's aide, the teacher, and they all berated him one by one, telling
like
him
a
how awful he
30-minute
was. Meanwhile, he's
berating.
standing up there with his girlfriend eating Pop Rocks. And he has this look on his face. He can't say anything because he knows he's fucked up. And his girlfriend is just slowly moving away.
She broke
from
up with him, I'm sure, that
immediately.
night because.
So where do we go? Yeah, that's another bullshit class.
Yeah, so
That's-
bullshit
That's where
classes.
we were getting at.
I thought you were going to say at the end it was like a twist, like the uncanny. It's like,
The uncanny was, I don't know.
like that was the thing.
I got you. Thinking about it.
Okay, wait. I just had a thing. This is really dumb. Don't fish get thirsty? Because what do fish drink?
Sand.
Well, I'm just saying. I know they're in salt water. Okay, but do they just? Okay, I want to. Do they drink salt
hard
water?
liquor, Chris.
Do they drink salt water? Is that what they drink? Do they just? How do they
Maybe
process?
they don't need
it?
a drink.
No, they have. Like
Why?
what? Do they just drink? I guess they just process salt water, huh?
Oh.
How do I have a show with you? Like, how do we get like anything made?
Well, I mean, but you don't know the answer to that either, right?
No, I'm
fish-
serious.
Why would
No,
you-
but I'm not saying
do
anything.
fish
Yeah,
just
yeah.
process salt water? Is that what their deal is?
Maybe they don't need water.
Yeah, do they
Maybe
not
because they're
need-
in the water
Because they're
environment.
always hydrated. Maybe they just it's like osmosis and they just absorb. Like how do
Define osmosis.
as osmosis is something that it's basically absorbs by by being next to it. So it's like it's not drank. It's just like skin.
No, that's right. That's
Yeah,
true.
you
That's
just
right.
I think
absorb
that's
it.
exactly what my biology textbook said in high
Yeah.
school.
It's
It's the
like
process of the thing with next to it and the thing. What does it say?
Someone just give me a note that says, "Hi, my name is Gavin."
Oh, you're our Gavin.
No, but well, fine. But I'm serious. Like, salt water is like, it makes you thirsty. All it does is make you thirsty.
Right, but these are creatures that live in salt water, so they're
like,
adapted to it.
It makes you thirsty, Chris. It doesn't make a fish thirsty. Like, fish are fine. They're moist. That's all they need.
Right, like if you were in a swimming pool, you'd never get thirsty
Why? What do you mean?
because you got water all around you. Osmosis.
Yeah, but that's not how it works. All right, let's
Put that back on your shirt.
I don't know. I have no idea. If anybody on Twitter knows, they can tweet us with hashtag
What a
RT
fish
Podcast.
does when it's thirsty.
Someone says, Jay Volton says, saltwater fish get their water from what they eat. But what do those fish get their water
Yeah,
from?
exactly.
It's like,
There's someone who's like, they're all fucking thirsty and they're in the ocean. They're like, God damn, I wish it would rain.
Well, no, there has to be some fish that everybody's eating that's like has a stash somewhere
Yeah.
of like fresh water that he's holding out on everyone else.
Just this like water fish that's like, I'm always getting eaten. They just need me.
it's like, man, I'm really thirsty. I could go for a bite to eat. You know, when I was in middle school, I convinced my class that I wrote snakes.
Oh. Really?
Yeah,
You went to a dumb
I wrote
school.
snakes and gorillas because I knew enough basic to change some of like the modifiers in the game. Like, oh yeah, see, I can change it for you. And they're like, oh wow, yeah, this is a really great game. I wonder if like to this day, like to see it on like a Nokia phone, they're like, yeah, you know, Gus made that game.
Unless they're listening to this podcast and
God.
like they lived a lie.
Yeah, you
Everyone
ruined
I
it.
went to school with is too stupid to listen to a podcast.
I used to come up, I can't remember
My
this.
school was so stupid.
I did the same thing, Gus, where I'd tell people I made stuff and invented things.
Like rape spray. Like he was the first one to like put that in a bottle.
No,
You know, and so like the school I went to was really, really dumb and super, like I don't know the word to describe it. Like super tough. Like
Did you
there were
make-
constant fights, and I don't know how I got through that school, but we had like plastic lunch cards. They were kind of like credit cards. So when you went to pay for your lunch, you would like swipe it, and it would, you know, debit from your meal account. But what all the students started doing was they would take hole punchers and like carve off an edge on it. That way it was sharp and had like a little hook. That way when you fought, you could use it like a knife.
what?
Yeah.
Did you go to prison? Like, is
So it's
that-
like they would make like these little impromptu knives, and they couldn't take it away from them because it was their meal card. And then girls would like use hole punchers on they would grow their fingernails long and use hole punchers on the tips. That way each fingernail
Good
became
Lord,
like two little
Gus.
stabbing points. And when they would get in fights, it would just be like super bloody because they'd scratch each other, and like blood and hair and shit would go everywhere. And one time when I was a sophomore.
When you were fighting for your life?
I was a sophomore. We actually had a school shooting in my school. Like a girl brought a gun to kill another girl at the school.
But she had sharpened her fingernails,
Right,
so
well,
she deflected the bullets.
The girl who was gonna get shot like tackled and beat up the girl with the gun. So like the gun went off, and like the only thing that got shot was the ceiling. The girl just got like suspended for a few days, and then like came back to school. It
This is like it was-
To be fair, they took away her gun.
They did take away her gun. She did not get that back. She had to go buy another one when she bought her TI-83.
they didn't have like school suspension. That's it.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school?
Just out in the border or some shit. Yeah.
man.
Jesus, Gus.
It was fucking awful.
We had a lot of fights at our school.
Go figure. I don't like school.
We
I'm
had a
gonna
lot-
start growing out my fingernails and punching holes in them. And,
just wandering around the office waiting for something. Just
yeah.
we had a lot of fights at our school, and I guess it was like this everywhere, but it's like when a fight broke out, everybody was super excited, and they all ran to the fight because they all wanted to watch. Well, there was one time where a fight broke out in the bathroom, and I saw it because I was in the bathroom peeing. And I was like midstream, and this fight breaks out, and then people start yelling, and then hordes of people start rushing into the bathroom, and I can't do anything about it.
I would always just yell,
was an awesome
"Stoop kids
fight, though.
leaving a stoop" from Hey Arnold.
There was this kid who was setting paper towel dispensers on fire in my school, like in my high school. And he just kept, like, no one could figure out who it was. And he'd set them on fire, set them on fire, set them on fire. Well, there was also this other kid who would go to the urinal and pee with his pants down, all the way down by his ankles. And apparently they walked into the bathroom at the same time. And they just made this pact. It was like, I won't say that you did this if you don't say that I still do this. And they're like, and they still couldn't figure out who it was. Like, you know, he just kept setting the things
Honor.
on fire. Yeah, honor. Don't say I pee with my pants down.
Here, I'm going to read this other thing. I'm going to continue telling awful high school stories, specifically about the bathroom, because now that's the tangent
That's where
we're on.
we are.
So since, like you've determined, I essentially went to a prison for a high school. None of the bathroom stalls had doors because they couldn't trust the students with doors. So it's like, and the bathrooms also never had toilet paper. So it's like you could not take a dump at school, or if you did it with no door and no toilet paper. Like,
So it was prison.
It was just
You
like
take a dump when I say you take a dump.
it was like just understood. It was like, that's the way it is because we're animals and we can't be trusted. And similar to your fight story, one time I was using the bathroom. So the whole high school was bad, but there was one wing of the high school that was really bad, and I really had to go. So like, God, I'm gonna go to the bad wing. I'm gonna pee in there.
It's just the east side.
And I was standing next to a guy. Yeah, I was at one urinal. He was at the other. We were both peeing. A group of guys walk in the bathroom and they just sucker punch the guy to my right. It's like fucking knock him the fuck out. He falls to the ground. They circle around him and start kicking the shit out of him while he's
Is his
on the
dick
ground.
still hanging out?
And I'm like, I just gotta finish peeing. I'm just getting out of here.
You're like, I can't stop it. It'll burn.
Yeah, it's like I'm just gonna finish this and walk out. Hopefully they don't hit me before then.
You just try to like fit in and like kick him.
Yeah, you have to at that
Fuck
point.
this guy.
I'm with you guys.
I'm gonna go look out for anybody coming.
One time in middle school, I was standing next to this girl. I was waiting to get picked up by my parents after school, and I was standing next to this girl, and we were both like standing by the street waiting for our parents, and I kind of got like a little shoved to the side. I was like, oh, that's weird. And I turned and I looked, and the girl had gotten shoved to the ground, and a gang of girls was like around her, kicking her on the ground. And I remember to this day, like looking at her face on the ground and seeing like the imprint of shoes on her face from where she was getting stomped on the face. And I was like, I just want to go home. Yeah. Like, do I really have to continue going to school?
Is this why you're such a hard ass today? You went to that school?
Did I ever tell you about the first time I moved to a new school and went to the bathroom? Did I ever tell that story?
I don't think so.
So I went to new school and went to the bathroom. I was nervous. A new state, new school, didn't know anyone. Go to the bathroom. I pee, and I go to wash my hands. It's weird because it was a weird like long sink, like a really long sink.
Oh, piss trough?
No.
Wait, what are you talking about?
It was a long sink. And so I go and I'm washing my hands, and it's like a really long sink.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I'm washing my hands, and this kid comes in the bathroom, and he's just staring at me. And I'm already self-conscious because I'm like the new kid in the school, and he's staring at me like I'm a weird. Like he looks at me like what is wrong with you? I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm washing my hands in the sink, and I leave, and then I come back to go to the bathroom again at lunch. It was a piss trough.
I totally ruined that, Chris. I'm so sorry.
I was washing my hands in the toilet.
What did you use for soap? Did you not think it was weird that the soap
I was like,
way
where's
over
the soap?
by the normal sink?
Well,
No.
So
Sometimes you have the little thing in the bottom of the.
No, I was
the
just.
sink,
Did you use a
grabbed
urinal?
it.
No, I just was like, where's the soap? I guess they're out. And so I just, because what it was a big, big old urinal, and they just had a pipe that had water constantly pouring out of it. I had never seen that before in my life. I went and peed in the toilet.
He was a senior, by the way, in high school.
And I was washing my hands. There was this, I didn't look and see that there were sinks right next to the.
He was nervous.
there
He
was a
started
penis
washing his
there.
face.
But then when I walked in, I was like, why are they peeing in the sink?
So did you,
You
spend
guys
like
are
the rest of your
animals.
day with filthy piss hands?
It was just, no, it wasn't piss, and no one peed on my hands. It was just the water.
You just washed them in the urinal.
Yes.
That's piss water.
That's
No.
piss hands. You had pee hands.
All right, well, whatever. I'm not going to argue that. I might have washed my hands in the toilet. But it was an innocent mistake. I didn't know. I was young.
How old were you?
I was
19,
like
right?
10 or 11.
Okay.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, I'm just glad there was only one dude who walked into the bathroom. It wasn't like one of those times.
Do you think he's on a podcast right now? Telling the story about the time he saw someone washing his hands in the urinal.
I was pissing on this kid's hands.
But he gave me
and-
this look that was like I don't know. I was like, what am I doing wrong? I'm just trying to fit in.
See, I feel like so much about growing up as a guy is just peeing on stuff. Like there's
Go
so
on.
many, I think, times in your life that you can like isolate where you've been peeing on random things, and it's kind of like your progression. Like when you see the movie Boyhood.
Well, I don't know about
it's
that.
like I'm watching it, and it's the one thing that I thought was missing is he never peed on anything.
I do remember as a child coming out of a movie and peeing and thinking, this is the longest anyone has ever peed. This has got to be like, because you watch in the movie and you really, really have to pee. And I was just like, no one has ever peed this long. This has got to be the most.
It's like when you get a Boy Scout, you're like going out in the woods, and then, you go pee and like you go fishing.
We should stop talking. I really have to pee, so we
Isn't
should
it more
stop
like,
talking about
it's more
this.
like peeing off of things, I thought. It's like, yeah, you pee on things, but like peeing off of something, like a building or a big rock, like Boy Scouts, like over the river. So that's when it's, right?
I don't know.
You're a freak. I'm jumping off this bandwagon.
No, it's
Aaron,
really
you're just
no.
gonna
It's
swag
about
it.
washing your hands in things that people pee in. That's what it's about. When you buy your dog, Gus, do you think about when it's gonna die?
God, yeah, I do. It's really depressing.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like, I think about it at least once a week. It's like I've got my dog, and I'm like, "You're awesome. You're like I like hanging out with you. You sit here. I pet
we
you.
work. We work well.
This is good. We've got a few more years. It's really
it's
depressing.
sad.
to
Well,
think
that's the
about.
thing. It's
hard.
like, but that's like you have a baby. You're like, well, I'm gonna die before you, baby. So you don't have to worry about that. But with a dog, you're like, well, I know
It's
I'm gonna
50-50
outlive you. I'm
chance.
gonna outlive you more than likely, unless you buy a dog when you're like old.
Just get the dog stuffed. You just get it stuffed, and you put like a bottle opener in it, so it's always like useful for you. And you're like
You're a
right, it's-
monster.
No. I had the. You want to hear a bad dog story?
Yes.
All right.
You
So-
guys are forcing me.
All right. So I was 4, and we had this dog named Binky.
Did you kill it, Chris?
No. I didn't. We had this dog named Binky. It was the family dog. It was the only dog I knew. I was 4. It was a family dog. My dad's out of town on a business trip. I wake up one morning. My mom is crying. Everyone's crying. The dog died. I was like, it was just like a cry fest because it was like my sister was 6. My brother was like an infant. And everyone was just crying because the dog was dead on the porch. My mom didn't know what to do. She got she got a little hysterical, I think. So she was like, this is weird. So she laid a blanket out next to the dog. And then she got me and my sister to flip the dog onto the blanket. And then we drugged the dog, me and my sister, while we're bawling, because this is our family dog. We drugged the dog to the garage where we had a freezer. And then we lifted the dog and put it in the freezer until my dad got home a week later.
Were there times in the middle of the week you went? to
Yes,
check
exactly.
on-
I went and showed my friend. I was like, listen, I got to show you my dog.
just past that cream
it was
corn
like
there.
it was one of those things where it's like, have you ever seen a dead body?
Yeah. It's like, would you like some ice cream? You want to see a dead dog?
I got one, and it was like one of those things where we lifted it and we'd see it and it'd be like looking at us. And I'd be
You
like,
didn't close the eyes before you put it in?
You put it in without wrapping it, Chris?
it was in the head of the blanket.
What, but how?
You think Chris's dad was like, motherfucker? I knew that dog was gonna die. I left town.
I just
specifically so
remember
they'd
my-
deal with
I just
it.
remember my-
They put it in the fucking freezer.
I just remember my dad getting back and was like, why didn't you bury it? And I was just a kid and I was like, why is mom and dad fighting?
Popsicle dog.
It was,
Oh my
and it was
God.
so. I just the thing is, that was the first time I've ever been around an animal that died. I thought that's what you did.
you put him in the
Did
freezer.
you-
Yeah, I just assumed
Before you
that
put
was
him in there,
normal.
did you like put a big stick, like impale him?
No, I just thought that was like a dog dies. It's like you put it in the freezer.
I hope I never die around you. Really?
I thought it was normal. I didn't. And not until like years later when we were telling that story and when people were like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, we put it in the freezer." And and then our dad got back from business and then we took it out and we buried it. And like, what? I don't know. I thought it was normal.
That's a little weird.
It was weird.
At
Yeah,
least you,
it was
at least
weird
you recognize
now.
it now.
Yeah. That's what I think about. That's why I don't have a dog.
I like
want
how
a dog.
you immediately took a drink and then immediately started talking.
I don't want to. That's why I don't have a dog.
That's one
because
of the
of that
many
reason.
reasons why you don't have a dog, I think.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's like, I mean, definitely it sucks to think about that, but dogs are great up until then.
Yeah.
So
Until you
gotta
freeze
think
them?
about it. Up until you have to freeze
Well,
them.
then they last forever.